I am ASMR Reality, and tonight we are going to be talking about how you talk to yourself. I will be doing this in a cupped whisper. I hope that you enjoy this and find it relaxing. To start, I want to tell you about a situation that happened to me years ago, maybe 2018. So about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago. I was in my 19th year of a career. I was the general manager of a Toyota dealership, and I was working 70 to 80 hours a week. It was a very hard job, but I always felt that I would do that job for as long as I could because it was a really good job. But I read this book, and the book was called 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And I read through chapter 1, and when I got to chapter 2, of course I turned the page to chapter 2, and rule number 2 was treat yourself as if you're someone you're responsible for. And I just remember staring at those words. I just read them over and over and over. Treat yourself as if you're someone you're responsible for. And I think it just hit me so hard because I had 91 employees at the time, and I really took a sincere interest in each one of their lives. I tried everything I could do, not just to make them better employees, but to make them better people. My employees really did like having me as a boss because I was just a good boss. I really took that job personally, and I always put their needs in front of my own. And it's really why I worked so much, because I was responsible for them and for the store, and I was there. If it was open, I was there. I became a workaholic, and what happened was it just became easier to just be there rather than to take a day off or to take a vacation and have to come back to all the madness that I had to catch up on. So probably 8 years prior, probably 2010, is when I decided, okay, that's it. No more days off, no more vacations. And I didn't. Prior to 2010, I did. I took time off. But after 2010, I just buckled down and I said, I'm going to get this over with. I'm going to work and save as much as I can so that I can set my future right. Anyway, fast forward 2018, I read these words and I stare at them. I might have even cried, but in that moment, I made the decision to leave that job because what I knew was that if I was the boss of a guy like me, I would look at him and I would say, what are you still doing here? Why are you still here? The right thing for you to do is to go. I knew it. I knew it in that very instant that the right thing for my future was to leave. And so I got up that morning and I wrote my resignation letter. Now, I didn't just quit immediately. I didn't want to leave the store vulnerable. I hired my replacement. I trained him. It probably took, I would say, about 7-8 months before I left. But I gave the owner of that dealership my notice that morning, and I told him I'm going to get everything in order so that on my 20-year anniversary, which was in March of 2019, that I would leave. And that's exactly what I did. So I stuck to it because I did what was right for me, and it's turned out to be the best decision I ever made. because I got into real estate, and I made more money. I made almost nearly, actually over double my best year at that dealership. I made over double that in 1 year in real estate. So it wasn't just about money, but I made double in working about 1/4 of the hours. So working on average 25, 35 hours a week, I made double. Now, I've had weeks where I worked more, but on average, that's what I've worked in real estate. Some weeks I've worked 50, 60 hours, but other weeks I work 10 or 20. It just varies. There's so much variance in real estate. Sometimes you're busy, sometimes you're not, but all in all, it's way better. And I get to work from home, so I'm with my dogs all the time, which is just fascinating. But the point is, I did what was best for me. I made a decision for me and myself. I wasn't thinking about everybody else, but I had served already. I had paid my dues. But it was time to make a decision for me, and that's what I did. But it's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, is in taking care of yourself, and part of that is, how do you talk to yourself? And I think a lot of us get caught up in negative self-talk. I know that I have been guilty of that in the past, and it affected me. But if you concentrate on it, it is not a difficult thing to change. Like, for example, sometimes when you just analyze the way that you talk to yourself, like the things that you're saying to yourself in your mental conversation with yourself, which we all have. Would you talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself? Would you say the things that you say to yourself to a friend? Most of us would say no to that. Like, for example, we might say things like, I'm never going to figure this out, or I'm never going to get out of debt, or I'm never going to get caught up on these bills, or I'm never going to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Negative things like that, which when you say those things to yourself, you're just giving yourself those negative affirmations. You're basically telling yourself that it's never going to happen, rather than a better way and a more realistic way. I am ASMR reality after all. Is to say to yourself, you've got to be realistic. I'm not a fan of like the fantasy thing, saying, oh, I have $1 million. Don't say that when you don't. But for example, to say something like, I'm going through a very challenging time. Okay, that's the truth. I'm going through a very challenging time, but I am going to find a way through this. I am going to figure this out. As difficult as this situation is, I am going to succeed. I am going to persevere through this. I am going to make it. Those are the types of conversations you have to have when you're going through tough times. Now, it may not immediately make you feel better, but it will eventually, because our brains are fascinating mechanisms. Think about, like, have you ever been talking to somebody and you're saying, and this has happened to me even when I've been on video before, and I've been trying to think about something to tell you guys, and I would say, for example, well, like when I said about the book I read this book one time, and what was the title of it? Oh, what was the title? Oh, I can't remember. Boom. As soon as you say, I can't remember, your brain shuts down. It stops looking for the answer. So what I always do in those situations is I say, what was the name of that book? Oh, goodness gracious. I can't believe I'm not remembering it right now, but it will come to me. I say those words, and inevitably, seconds or minutes later, boom, it pops in my head. It's funny because I made a video and that happened to me, and I was like, I think it was a movie, and I was like, it was a movie with so and so in it, and blah. And one of the comments, one of the persons that was watching the video wrote a comment that said, "Here's the answer." Well, about 5 minutes later in the video, it popped in my head, and I said, "Oh, the movie was that." Well, that person had deleted that comment. But what happens is, when you have a YouTube channel, when you type a comment and send it, I get it in my email, and then it also posts. Now, when you delete it, it deletes it off of the YouTube video, but it doesn't delete it from my email. So I get to see those. Those comments that get deleted. That was a breaking news alert. Let's see what it was. Michigan defeated Washington to win college football's national championship. I didn't even know it was going on. I don't watch sports or follow them, so forgive me if you guys are all excited about it, because I don't let that stuff distract me. I gave sports up a long time ago too. I gave sports up primarily because I hated the ups and downs, the emotional roller coaster of caring so much about something. It's like, I'm not on the team. I don't get a trophy if they win, it's like, I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to let myself go through those emotions and get excited. Not only that, it's a time kill, it's a distraction, and it just is something else to take away from being productive. So maybe one day when I completely retire, I'll start watching them again, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. But anyway, back to the topic. But the brain is so fascinating that it will come up with those solutions for you. Like, for example, asking yourself good questions. Like, what do you need? What's your biggest obstacle right now? Sorry, my leg itches. Oh, good God. Let's say, for example, you're just miserable at your job. Then you should ask yourself, what do I want to do? And that answer will come to you. What do you want to do? Eventually, it may not pop in your head right then, but eventually it will come to you. I'm kind of going through that right now myself, is that I'm trying to figure out, my first career was a car career. My second career was in real estate, and I'm looking for like a final chapter. What do I want to do for my third chapter? What I want to do right now is start a podcast with my brother. My brother and I have lived completely different lives, and we have but we're still brothers, and we had the same upbringing. So we have some similarities, but we've had such different life experiences. I think it would be good to interview people and come from two separate backgrounds, like we are two separate lives, like we have. I think would be interesting to. I just think it would be interesting, but it's like trying to get my brother. We live in different towns, and I don't really want to do like a Zoom style web podcast, so I need to get him to my house because he doesn't really have a good place to film. So I'm trying to get that worked out with him, but that's one thing that's on my plate that I would consider doing. But it's because I've asked myself, what do I want? And my brain comes up with answers for me. But I haven't finalized that yet, but I'm in that process. Maybe it's money you need, and maybe you need $10,000 within the next 3 months. Ask yourself, how can I get $10,000 in the next 3 months? I promise you, your brain is going to it's going to start shooting out answers. I mean, robbing a bank will probably be on there, but you will X that off the list, Your brain is going to shoot out all these answers for you, like, how can I get $10,000 in the next 3 months? Just ask yourself that amazing mechanism we have. And everybody's answers are different because everybody's storage is different up there. The things that are in your brain, it's going to take in all your experiences. I mean, it's like, think about, like, you can just go and recall things that happened to you when you were like 10 years old. You know, you can almost just close your eyes and you can actually remember those. They're in your brain. It's like a massive database. And so that's why I think it's important that we feed that mechanism with as much positive inspiration as we can give it. You know, look in the mirror and say to yourself, I am strong. I am good. I am going to make it. I am going to accomplish my goals. It seems dumb. It seems stupid, but it works. I don't know how it works. It just does. And I think a lot of us just miss these easy, simple steps. But I know it's helped me in my life, and I know it can help you. So these are the things that are just, they're just small things that we can do that make a huge impact. We've got to stop the negative conversations in our brain. It's like, you hear people say like there's an angel and a devil, and both of them like talk. Both of them say things, but I think it's our conscience at play, and you know, there's just all sorts of options. It's why some of us end up doing bad things and we make bad decisions because we listen to the wrong voice. I know religious people will say it's God or the devil or the angel or the devil, or, you know, listening to those voices. But even for people that are not religious, it's there. You know, those opposing views are there. Like, for example, if you ask yourself, how can I come up with $10,000? Robbing a bank is an option. I mean, it's an option that comes to your mind. And maybe if you're just like extremely good, maybe it doesn't pop in your mind. But for me, it's like my mind is just going to spit out all the options that it can think of to give me, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. This looks interesting. Maybe this looks interesting. And, you know, maybe, for example, if you're a woman in today's world, maybe starting an OnlyFans comes to mind. Well, if you're of good moral character, you probably would say no to that. But it's an option. It's an option out there if you need money. Heck, even guys can probably do. I'm sure there's guys OnlyFans. I don't know, but I can't imagine that there's not. But my point is that your brain will feed you that information, you know, and I think that the better information you put into your brain, the better the results will come when you ask it those questions. So again, the way you talk to yourself has got to be in a positive light. You have got to give yourself all the opportunities. And I'm not talking about just like, I'm going to get $1 million in 30 days. Yeah, go ahead and try. I'm not talking about being ridiculous, but maybe it works. You know, if you ask yourself, how can I get $1 million in 30 days? Like, I'm going to ask myself, how can I get $1 million in 30 days? I don't play the lottery, but the lottery just popped in my mind. I don't even buy lottery tickets. I don't gamble. But the lottery was the first thing that popped in my mind. My mind just shot out that answer. Now, like, my mind's spinning around, and I'm like, now it's doing math on how many homes I would have to sell and the types of homes I would have to sell. So how can I land one of those? See, right now my mind's going down that rabbit hole, but I don't need $1 million. I don't want it. I mean, I would take it, but it's not a necessity for me. So I'm going to shut that off. I'm going to shut that request down. But yeah, anyway, I hope this has has been helpful for you. I hope that you will talk to yourself the way you would talk to a good friend. I had a friend the other day that mentioned something. He's feeling really down because he doesn't have a girlfriend, and he said, "I'm ugly." And this guy is not ugly. He's an Indian guy, but like, if you've watched some of my recent past videos, he's the guy that has the really nice house that he just redid the kitchen. He has the Nissan GTR that he bought brand new and then went and shipped it off to Chicago to have $65,000 worth of modifications done to it to make it even faster. It's got 1,000 horsepower now. Everything he owns, like all the clothes, like he just bought a Canadian Goose coat. I mean, everything he has is like high-end stuff. But I think he's doing all that to compensate for his low self-esteem, because he said to me those words. I'm like, he started talking to me about not having a girlfriend, and he said the words to me, "I'm ugly." He didn't call me ugly. He was talking about himself, and he said the words, "I'm ugly." And I said, "Mo, you cannot talk to yourself like that. You cannot say those words ever again. One, you're not, and I'm not just telling you that because I'm your friend. I'm telling you that's a horrible thing to say to yourself." But that's what happens. That's what happens when we continually talk to ourselves negatively. It just festers like a cancer. That's what negativity will do. It will just drive you down a rabbit hole of negativity, and it will hurt your chances of getting yourself out. Like, for me, I feel like I've been an overachiever by utilizing a lot of these principles because, you know, on paper, I should not have succeeded like I did. But I used all these mechanisms, I read all the self-help books I could possibly get my hands on, and I took all the advice I could, all the advice that didn't sound like just bullcrap. I took the advice. One of the first books I read that helped me was a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And I'm telling you, that book had so much psychiatric stuff in it that was like psychology. I'm like, I listened to so much of it. He talks about something that is called pattern interrupts, that when you hear yourself and all this negativity going on in your mind, that you come up with something that you do that interrupts that pattern. So for example, you think of something like maybe you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or you think about something crazy. You just come up with some unique pattern interrupt that every time it comes up, you just automatically think of something else. So those are the types of things I think that would help, and reading good books. I think reading books like that have positive messages in it really do help. And if you're reading something positive, you're not doing something else, which could be like playing a video game or watching some dumb show that does nothing for your well-being. It can really help to be productive, to work on yourself, because just like when we work out, we're working on our bodies and we're trying to keep ourselves in shape. We also have to exercise the mind. And if you're willing to give your body 30 or 40 minutes a day, you've got to do the same thing for your mind. So that's it for tonight. I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was relaxing. And I will see you on the next one. Good night.